At the scene of the car accident, I tightly held my girlfriend Isabella's hand to stop her from going to rescue others. Later, the car exploded, and Isabella lost her first love. When I was on a business trip after we got married, I accidentally found that the brakes of the car failed. I called her, but she laughed maniacally. If you hadn't stopped me back then, Julian wouldn't have died. Now you can taste this feeling too. I was reborn. This time, I simply and neatly let go of the hands that were holding her back. Hurry and save people. The car in front has been overturned, and there are still people inside. Isabella and several friends were screaming beside me. The car that was overturned in front was Julian's. It was crushed by a large truck, and the car started to leak oil from the bottom. Everyone just watched, too afraid to go forward and rescue. Because there was a risk of explosion at any moment. I want to save Julian. Don't stop me, Isabella said hatefully as she looked at me standing in front of her. Just a moment ago, I hit my head due to the sudden braking. After I came to my senses, the memories of my previous life flashed through my mind like a movie. I was reborn back to the day when Julian had a car accident on his engagement day. A month ago, Isabella had just agreed to be my girlfriend. In my previous life, because I was afraid of danger, I stopped her from rescuing people. The car leaked oil and exploded, and Julian died on the spot. Isabella was so shocked that she suffered from depression. Only then did everyone know that she had been secretly in love with Julian. She agreed to be my girlfriend just to hide her pain. But I liked her very much. I didn't care that there was someone else in her heart. I accompanied her to see a psychologist and go on trips. I believed that I could definitely heal the wounds in her heart. 2 years later, I married Isabella as I wished. Just when I was looking forward to a wonderful future after marriage. On a business trip by car, I found that the brakes of the car actually failed. I crashed into the edge of a cliff. The strong impact caused the car to turn over and start leaking oil, and I lost too much blood. When my consciousness was getting more and more blurred, the last call I made was to Isabella. Isabella, I had a car accident. I want to tell you that the person I love the most in my life is you. But unexpectedly, Isabella's crazy laughter came from the other end of the phone. Ha ha ha, Lucas, you've got what you deserve today. If you hadn't stopped me back then, Julian wouldn't have died. You killed him. How does it feel to face death? I couldn't believe my ears. I never expected that Isabella hated me so much just because I stopped her from saving Julian. More and more blood flowed out, and I lost consciousness. Let go. Isabella was still roaring, and I came back to my senses. Looking at my hand that was tightly holding Isabella's arm, I quickly let go of her. Go ahead, Isabella. Be bold and save your beloved. This time, I will never stop you. Isabella rushed over. Several friends didn't dare to stop her either and could only shout anxiously from behind, Isabella, it's dangerous. Come back quickly. Several friends blamed me, Lucas, why didn't you stop her? I stretched out the back of my hand with blood marks from Isabella's grip. I tried my best. Didn't you see my hand? Everyone looked at my bloodied hand and didn't say anything more. I watched coldly as Isabella rushed into the scene. The cold feeling of bleeding out in my previous life was still fresh in my memory. In this life, I will definitely live well and see how she and Julian live a happy life together. The traffic police, fire trucks, and ambulances arrived one after another. But at the moment Isabella just rescued Julian, the car exploded, and the shockwave knocked them unconscious. After being sent to the hospital, both of them were injured to varying degrees. Julian's calf was crushed and broken. Because it had been too long, it could only be amputated. And Isabella's arm was also broken. As a piano teacher, this meant the end of her piano performance career. Fortunately, the car explosion didn't kill them directly at that time. Next, I wanted to see how these two people with broken limbs would show their affection again. Soon, reporters came to the hospital. Julian's family was an aristocratic family, and the fact that the heir of the Julian family had a car accident was a big deal. Julian's fiancée was now lying on him, with tears streaming down her face, trying her best to play the role of the prospective daughter-in-law of the Julian family. Julian, you scared me to death. Just after we got engaged, such a thing happened to you. What would I do without you? Julian's fiancée's name was Daphne. She was a daughter from an aristocratic family that was a good match for the Julian family. Isabella was just from an ordinary working-class family and couldn't compete with her at all. Reporters have always had a keen sense. They quickly found Isabella, who had rushed into the scene to save Julian, in the same ward and interviewed her there. Reporter, Miss Isabella, weren't you afraid at that time? Isabella raised her head shyly and said softly but bravely, I couldn't just watch Julian get into trouble, so I wasn't afraid. She wanted to continue, but Julian's mother appeared. Dressed in famous brands, she looked at Isabella indifferently and said, Miss Isabella and my son are very good friends. Our Julian family is very grateful for her actions this time and will definitely repay Miss Isabella well. Then she turned to look at Julian's fiancée Daphne in the adjacent hospital bed. Julian's fiancée is also very grateful to Miss Isabella. She said she wants to come and thank Miss Isabella in person. Daphne stepped forward and looked at Isabella gratefully. Miss Isabella, thank you so much. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Just focus on recuperating. The Julian family and your family will definitely not treat you badly. Isabella looked at her, and her face became a little uneasy. The Julian family kept their word. After they left, they arranged a separate ward for Isabella. Before Isabella was discharged from the hospital, a check for $2 million had already been given to Isabella's parents. Isabella's parents were overjoyed. But in the ward, Isabella shook her head. I don't want their money. I didn't save Julian for the money. Isabella's mother stared at her and scolded, Are you stupid? If not for the money, then for what? For that person? He has a fiancé. Don't daydream. That Lucas has been chasing you, hasn't he? Didn't you agree to be with Lucas before Julian's engagement? I'm warning you. Don't try to have it both ways. Hold on to Lucas tightly. His family's conditions are not bad either. If you mess this up, I won't forgive you. As Isabella's boyfriend, I was naturally waiting outside the ward and heard their conversation clearly. After listening to their conversation, I couldn't help but laugh. I used to think that her parents liked me because I was good to Isabella. Later, I realized that her parents were greedy for money. In my previous life, in order to marry Isabella, under her hint, I not only bought a house and a car for her parents but also gave a bride price of $1 million. But it still couldn't satisfy this blood-sucking family. This time, I won't be such a fool. The doctor came to make rounds and said seriously to Isabella's parents, the patient is in the early stages of pregnancy, just 2 months along. She can't be stimulated, and since she has just been injured, she needs to rest quietly. Don't shout and make a fuss. Pregnant? I was shocked at the door. This was different from the situation in my previous life. The people in the ward were also shocked. When Isabella's parents saw me standing at the door in a daze, they smiled happily. Lucas, come quickly. You heard what the doctor just said, right? Isabella is pregnant. Should you move up your wedding? I shook off Isabella's mother's enthusiastic hand and said calmly, Auntie, Isabella and I have only been officially dating for a month. This child can't be mine. I'm sorry, but I can't be your son-in-law. In an instant, the whole ward fell silent. I looked at Isabella in the hospital bed. Isabella, if you don't like me, you can just say it directly. But you're pregnant with someone else's child and you still agreed to date me. I'm sorry, but I won't be this cheap father. Isabella's mother's face turned red instantly. She turned around and slapped Isabella hard. You little slut. Tell me, whose child are you carrying? Isabella covered her face and looked at me pleadingly, but I remained indifferent. I even kindly advised, Isabella, tell Auntie who the father of the child is. You have to let your parents make the decision on this matter. Isabella's mother said angrily, Yes, tell us. Whose child is it? Isabella lowered her head, Don't ask any more. Then she looked at me again, biting her lip. She knew that I liked her the most when she looked weak and helpless, and she said, Lucas, would you like to be the father of the child? We can get married as soon as I'm discharged from the hospital. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. In her perception, I couldn't refuse at all and would immediately nod and agree. After all, I liked her so much. I sneered in my heart and firmly refused, no. As soon as I refused, feeling that everything was going to be ruined, Isabella's mother was furious. She slapped Isabella again. Are you so cheap that you don't even dare to say whose child it is? Is that man unwilling to take responsibility? Isabella gritted her teeth. After a moment of hesitation, she slowly revealed the truth. It's Julian's. When Isabella's mother made a scene in front of Julian's family, they happened to be at the entrance of the hospital. When she saw Julian's parents getting out of the car, she rushed over joyfully. Oh, in-laws, congratulations on becoming grandparents soon. Julian's parents were obviously taken aback. Our Julian isn't married yet. How can we become grandparents? Isabella's mother replied with a beaming smile, You don't know yet, do you? Your son has secretly been with my daughter for a long time. Just now, the doctor clearly told us that my daughter is already 2 months pregnant. Julian's mother looked suspicious. How is that possible? My son has a fiancée. Isabella's mother pursed her lips and mumbled, which cat doesn't steal? Before Isabella's mother went to the hospital entrance, I had already sent a message to a familiar reporter, telling him that there would be explosive news and asking him to definitely guard the hospital gate. Sure enough, when I arrived at the hospital entrance, I saw several familiar figures surrounding Isabella's mother and Julian's family. Obviously, they had heard the conversation between Isabella's mother and Julian's parents. This lady is Isabella's mother, right? Just now you said that Miss Isabella is pregnant with the child of the Julian family. Is that true? As soon as Isabella's mother saw the reporter, she grabbed the reporter and said excitedly, "Of course it's true. My daughter is pregnant with Julian's child. It's almost 2 months. My daughter is so infatuated. Even though she's pregnant, she rushed to save people regardless of her own safety. She really loves Julian." This kind of gossip about the wealthy is what reporters love the most. Immediately, the sound of camera shutters kept going off. A reporter asked, "Julian has a marriage contract with the Daphne family. Now that this has happened, is the marriage contract between your Julian family and the Daphne family still valid?" Facing such a difficult question from the reporter, Julian's family members were very clever and remained silent. However, they entered the hospital with livid faces. I quietly retreated back to the ward. I couldn't miss such a good show. It only took half a day for the Julian family to be on the trending topics. Hashtag the heir of the Julian group has someone else in his heart, and the savior is actually his true love. Hashtag Julian is going to be a father. Hashtag can the Julian family and the Daphne family still be a perfect match? Hashtag. When I passed by Julian's ward, I looked in through the small glass window of the ward. I saw Isabella, with a cast on her arm, coming to visit Julian. She was silently crying in front of Julian, who had a gloomy face after having one of his legs amputated. "Julian, you scared me to death. Do you know how scared I was at that time? If only I could have saved you earlier, your leg wouldn't have been." Julian tried hard to squeeze out a faint smile from his gloomy face. "It's okay. Although I've lost one leg, I'm still alive. Thank you. I will definitely persuade my parents to let us be together. I'll find a chance to break off the engagement with Daphne." Isabella leaned in his arms and placed his hand on her belly. "Julian, you're going to be a father." Julian was first startled, and then immediately said happily, "Really?" Unfortunately, his happiness lasted less than 3 seconds. After I heard the chaotic sound of footsteps in the corridor, I quickly retreated to the adjacent empty ward. I saw Julian's father leading Julian's mother, with frosty expressions, coming to Julian's ward. He pushed the door open forcefully. Behind them was Daphne, looking very angry. It seemed that the good show was about to start. After the three of them entered the room, Julian's mother looked at Isabella coldly and spoke first. "Isabella, I underestimated you. Only someone from a family like yours could come up with such a trick. Do you want to get married because of the child? You're too naive. The grandson of our Julian family can only be born from Daphne's womb." At this time, Isabella's mother also rushed in from behind, pushed the door open and shouted towards the corridor, "Come and see, everyone. The Julian family is really shameless. They won't even recognize their grandson even though my daughter is pregnant. I'm telling you, it's not that easy. My daughter can't let your son take advantage of her for nothing. Either they get married, or you give us money." Julian's family was so angry that their faces turned pale. Daphne sneered, "Isabella has a boyfriend. Who knows if the child in her belly is Julian's? Just because you say so doesn't mean it's true." Hearing this, I immediately jumped out to defend myself. "This child isn't mine. When I was dating her, she wouldn't even let me touch her hand. Don't wrong me." Daphne was surprised for a moment, as if she didn't expect me to be in the adjacent ward. Isabella continued her act. She looked up at Julian and said, "Julian, you know that night when we went to the hot spring together? I'm not that kind of easy girl. You know I've always only loved you." Isabella's mother immediately gained confidence. "Are you trying to renege on your debt after taking advantage of my daughter? My daughter is now carrying your Julian family's child. You must give me an explanation." Isabella promptly nestled in Julian's arms, with tears in her eyes. Julian stroked her belly and pleaded with his mother, "Mom, this child is indeed mine. I really like Isabella. Please let us be together." Daphne was so angry that she almost exploded. She took 2 steps backward, pointed at Julian and cursed 3 times. Good, good, good. When the Julian family's capital chain broke and you came to my family to seek an alliance through marriage, why didn't you say you liked her? Now that the Julian family has recovered, you want to kick us aside? You must give the Daphne family an explanation." After saying that, she slammed the door and left. Julian was eager to speak, but was interrupted by his mother. "Julian, as a member of the Julian family, you should understand the responsibilities you have to bear. If you want to cancel the engagement with the Daphne family, that's fine. Your elder brother can marry into the Daphne family. But from now on, the business of the Julian family has nothing to do with you. Think it through." Julian hugged Isabella tightly and said loudly, "I've thought it through. I just want to be with Isabella. I don't care about anything else." When I heard that Julian was willing to give up his inheritance rights in the Julian family just to be with Isabella, I almost burst out laughing. Julian, a playboy, can do nothing but eat, drink, and have fun. He only has a nominal position when he goes to work in the company. And Isabella has been instilled by her mother since she was a child with the idea that she must marry a rich man when she grows up. In my previous life, I was deceived by their appearance and kept flattering her like a love-struck fool. This time, it's Julian's turn to bear Isabella's blood-sucking family. Let's see how long he can last. The Julian family didn't accept Isabella, and Julian left home for love. As a result, the two of them actually moved into the house I bought for Isabella. When Isabella agreed to be my girlfriend a month ago, I felt sorry for her because her workplace was too far away. On a whim, I bought a house near her company and let her live there first. After learning in the hospital that Isabella was pregnant with Julian's child, I thought she should move out. I felt uncomfortable keeping this house, so I planned to sell it. As a result, when I entered the password outside the door, it was always wrong. I was puzzled. I set the password myself. How could it be wrong? Just as I was thinking, someone inside opened the door. It was Isabella. She was wearing pajamas. When she opened the door and saw me, a look of panic flashed in her eyes. "Why are you here?" I didn't expect her to be so brazen. I retorted, "I should be asking you that. Do you still have the nerve to live here? Who is it, Isabella?" Julian's voice came from inside the house. I almost laughed out of anger. So these two people left home and came to build their love nest in my house? "Oh, it's young Master Julian. I'm here to sell the house." Isabella said angrily, "This is my house. Why do you want to sell it?" "I've seen a lot of shameless people, but I've never seen someone this shameless. My name is the only one on the property deed." At that time, Isabella wanted me to add her name to the property deed. I said that I could only add her name after we got married. As soon as Isabella heard that, she didn't say anything more. I know Isabella too well. She has regarded me as a backup option from the very beginning. "Isabella, I bought this house, and my name is on the property deed. You were only my girlfriend for a month, and we only held hands. And you betrayed me first. You don't think that just holding hands can get you a house, do you?" Isabella's face turned pale. "But you said I could live here at that time." I shrugged. "Yes, it was okay for my girlfriend to live here. But now what right do you have to live here? You're pregnant with someone else's child and you're even bringing a man to live in my house? Isabella, don't you have any shame? And Julian, don't you feel ashamed? What, is young Master Julian going to be a kept man?" I sneered and taunted them. I knew that with Julian's spoiled temper, he definitely couldn't stand it. Sure enough, Julian said angrily, "We'll find a house and move out right away. Do you think this is some great place?" I said, "Okay, 3 days. I'll bring people to take back the house then." Thinking of how Isabella hated me so much in my previous life because of this man that she wanted to kill me, I can't let go of that deep-seated hatred and the excruciating pain. I must get my revenge. Isabella couldn't play the piano anymore because of her injured arm, which meant she lost her source of income. And Julian can do nothing after leaving the Julian family. The two of them are just spending their savings. Relying on a little money Isabella had saved before, the two of them rented a place in an old residential community. Originally, Julian and Isabella had just been on the trending searches, and then they were caught on camera while moving house. I laughed out loud when I saw the photos. Julian probably had never lived in such a shabby little house in his life. And Isabella, who had always lived by relying on others, now had to rely on herself. It was estimated that the Julian family had made up their minds to cut off all of Julian's cards completely, leaving him with no way out. Just as I was eagerly waiting to see how they would make a living, a post suddenly went viral on the internet. It contained photos of Isabella before she was about to rush into the scene. I was holding her back to prevent her from going in to rescue people, as well as photos of Isabella and Julian being sent to the hospital after rescuing people at the car accident scene, and finally photos of the two of them moving house. The general idea of the pictures and text was that because Isabella had saved Julian, I had developed hatred out of love. Not only did I break up with Isabella, but I also kicked Isabella, who hadn't fully recovered from her injuries, out of the house. The small essay was well documented with pictures and what seemed like the truth, and I was suddenly bombarded online, becoming the kind of man who was narrow-minded and cowardly. Several friends who were at the scene at that time left comments below to speak up for me, saying that I had held back Isabella because it was too dangerous. As a result, they were severely attacked by online trolls, and no one dared to speak up anymore. As soon as I saw it, I knew that Isabella and the others had hired someone to play tricks. Were they trying to whitewash themselves by smearing me? Then let the situation develop for a while. Some netizens also questioned, didn't Julian have a marriage contract with Daphne? Why was he living with Isabella? Someone answered, didn't it say that Isabella was pregnant with Julian's child? Why should Lucas support her? Why not kick her out instead of keeping her around for the spring festival? When I saw this, I thought these people were sensible. I used a secondary account to give this comment a thumbs up. However, the number of people scolding me online surged like a tide, and it couldn't be suppressed. Taking advantage of the popularity, Isabella even started a live broadcast. In the small house where they lived, she wore a natural makeup look with a touch of light red on her lips, looking so pitiful that it made people feel sorry for her. The number of people in the live broadcast room was increasing. Isabella said to the camera, there are a lot of bad rumors about us online now. Actually, I really didn't think that much at that time. I only had one thought, that I couldn't let anything happen to Julian. I really love him. She was really a super, White Lotus. But it didn't end there. Her subsequent twisting of the truth really opened my eyes. She cried in the live broadcast room that when I was chasing her, I bought her a house, and it wasn't something she had asked for on her own initiative. Because I stopped her from saving Julian, she thought I was cold-blooded and indifferent. After we broke up, I kicked them out. They insisted on being together because of love, facing opposition from their families and the incomprehension of many people. They even gave up a wealthy life. Now, even though they were living in such a small house, they still felt very happy. The audience in the live broadcast room was moved by their love and kept sending her gifts. Looking at the gifts being sent on the screen, Isabella pursed her lips and said, I'm not doing this live broadcast to ask for everyone's gifts. Some people say I'm doing it for the money, but I'm not. I just want to tell everyone that my dedication to love can't be made me give up by worldly views and restrictions. After that, the gifts sent by netizens poured in even more. Isabella made a fortune from just one live broadcast. And under the official account of my company, there were all netizens scolding me. Such a cold-blooded person who even stopped others from rescuing people. Lucas is probably the real murderer, right? The heir of your group is so cold-blooded. We have every reason to suspect that all of you are the same. How can we netizens believe that you are a conscientious enterprise? Just because you can't have someone, do you want to kill them? Make Lucas come out and apologize. Because of the high popularity, sometimes Julian would even appear during the live broadcast to hand Isabella a fruit plate, pour her a glass of warm water, and touch her head to ask if his baby was tired. This made a lot of netizens move to tears. They thought it was true love, that giving up the status of a wealthy family for love and living together in a small room for the rest of their lives was so touching. Since Isabella said that she couldn't play the piano anymore because of her injured arm in order to save people, she gained a lot of sympathy, and her image became lofty and pure. Seeing the two of them keep showing off, I couldn't help but curl the corners of my mouth. Since that was the case, I had to give them a good help. I asked my friend's musical instrument company to find Isabella as a spokesperson. My friend asked in confusion, she has slandered you so much. Why do you want to help her? I said, do me a favor. Find her as a spokesperson. Make sure to sign the contract carefully. If the image of the spokesperson affects the product, the spokesperson will have to pay 10 times the liquidated damages as compensation. When my friend took the contract to Isabella, she beamed with joy. How could she understand the trap I had set for her in the contract? Seeing the endorsement fee of over 100,000 yuan, she signed the contract without even looking at it carefully. But this wasn't enough. The higher you lift someone up, the harder they will fall. I asked my friend to immediately order billboards, using Isabella's photos to create a widespread advertising campaign. Because of my scandal, the public relations department of the group approached my father and asked if we should deal with the crisis. My father calmly smoked a cigarette and said to leave me alone and let me handle it myself. If I couldn't handle such a thing, I wouldn't have the ability to take over the group in the future, and it would be better to replace me as soon as possible. He really was my own father. I hired someone to retrieve the surveillance videos of Isabella going to the hot spring alone with Julian several times after she became my girlfriend. In the videos, they were hugging and making various intimate gestures in the hotel corridor, and finally they went into the same room together and didn't leave until noon the next day. I also prepared photos of the situation at the car accident scene and photos of my hand that was scratched when I held back Isabella. I had been prepared for this day for a long time. When everyone was almost smearing me online as an extremely evil person who was unforgivable, I released a series of evidence online. The reason why I held back Isabella was that the professional rescuers at the scene were shouting that there was a risk of explosion at any moment and not to enter the scene to rescue people. There were also photos of the back of my hand that was scratched and bleeding when I tried to stop Isabella. The most explosive thing was, why was Isabella so eager to save someone else's fiancé? The subsequent surveillance videos directly showed that the two of them had been having an affair at the hot spring while they both had their own boyfriends and girlfriends, and they had spent a whole day together in the room. Coupled with the news that broke out some time ago that Isabella was 2 months pregnant and the father of the child was Julian. When the whole timeline was put together, the truth of the matter came to light. There was an uproar online. At the time of the car accident, the professionals were all stopping people from going in. Julian's fiancée didn't rush in either, but Isabella did. It turned out that the two of them had already been having an affair and she was already pregnant, yet they were selling the image of true love online. The online public opinion changed completely at once. These shameless man and woman, I really wasted my enthusiasm. How dare she come out and say they are true love? Ugh. Now that I think about it, it's already good that Lucas didn't beat them up. And what's wrong with him asking them to move out of his house? These two scumbags betrayed each other. They are really something. Isabella's image and online reputation plummeted to the bottom. I called my friend and said, now is your chance to make a fortune. Isabella's private life has affected the products of your company, so you should ask her to pay the liquidated damages. My friend said, you are really ruthless. Am I ruthless? No. Compared to her trying to kill me, I'm not ruthless at all. Isabella couldn't afford to pay such a large amount of money. She could only quietly go home and secretly take out the bank card with 2 million yuan that the Julian family had given to her parents and pay it to the company. The next time I saw Isabella, she was wearing maternity clothes and blocked me at the entrance of the company. Lucas, do you really hate me that much? Do you know how much those videos online have hurt me? Now my arm is injured and I can't play the piano. My career is ruined, the endorsement is gone, and I still have to pay the money. I'm already so miserable, yet you still want to hurt me online. I rolled my eyes. What does it have to do with me that your arm is injured and your career is ruined? I ignored her and walked forward. She shouted loudly behind me, Lucas, don't you think you're going too far by treating me like this? Are you still a man? You won't even spare a woman. If you say that, I'll be in full fighting mode. I turned around and looked at her. Some nosy people on the roadside had already started taking out their phones to take pictures. I smiled slightly and said, Isabella, since your arm is injured and you can't play the piano because you saved Julian, shouldn't you go to him? What's the point of coming to me? I released the videos to prove my innocence, so as to prevent someone from smearing me online, saying that I developed hatred out of love and deliberately destroyed your relationship. I won't attack others unless they attack me first. If others do attack me, I don't know if the fish will die, but the net will definitely be broken. Isabella, I'm pregnant now. Aren't you afraid that I and the baby will die if you push me so hard? I took a step back. How dare you even mention that you're pregnant? This is evidence of your betrayal with him. Don't try to morally blackmail me with your pregnancy. I looked at the passers-by taking pictures with their phones by the roadside and said, make sure you take clear pictures. I haven't even touched her. Don't say that I'm the one who caused the loss of the baby later. Don't try to extort money from me. I quickly took a few steps back and stood 5 meters away from her. The passers-by laughed out loud. I made a heart gesture and said, the eyes of the masses are sharp. Isabella had no choice but to leave in a huff. Now, every time Isabella goes live, she gets scolded. She can only close the live broadcast. The two of them can't find a job either. Julian has lost a calf. He has never had a proper job before, and no one is willing to hire a disabled rich second generation with no work experience. Isabella could only play the piano. Now that her arm is disabled, she can't play the piano anymore, and the live broadcast is also over. The two of them are lying in bed at home, worried and unable to sleep. Isabella asked Julian to go home and admit his mistake submissively. "Julian, our baby will be born in a few months. If we don't have money, how can we raise him? He is the eldest grandson of the Julian family. Your family will surely pay for it. Moreover, you said before that you would let me stay in the best hospital and arrange the best maternity center for me." When Julian heard this, he immediately flew into a rage. They were having trouble even with their meals now, and she still wanted to stay in the best hospital and maternity center. The two of them had a big fight over this. Isabella's mother had thought that her daughter would marry into a wealthy family. Seeing that all her efforts had been in vain, she was unwilling to accept it. She went to their small home and made a huge scene. "You are a young master of the Julian family. Now you don't have a penny, and you still want my daughter to support you. How can you have the nerve? I'm telling you, if you want to marry my daughter, you need to give a bride price of 5 million yuan. If you don't go home and get the money, you should return the house next month. There is still a utility room at home for you to live in." Julian couldn't stand the humiliation and just turned around and went out. Going back to the Julian family was definitely out of the question. As a result, Julian actually went to find Daphne. What Julian didn't know was that I had already sent a copy of the video of him having an affair with Isabella to Daphne. Daphne had known about this before the truth was revealed online and had already hated him to the core. Daphne had originally questioned the purpose of me sending the video to her. It was not until I said that we should join hands to punish this despicable couple that she let down her guard. As a wealthy young lady, Daphne had never suffered such humiliation since she was a child. Julian coming to her was undoubtedly running into the line of fire. At this moment, Daphne looked at Julian in front of her with full contempt. However, she still pretended to have feelings for him and said, "Julian, how could that kind of woman be worthy of you? If you still have feelings for me, I can ask Julian's father and the others to forgive you, and we can reconsider the matter of the marriage contract." "However?" Julian asked anxiously. "However what?" "Daphne, our Daphne family also values face. You can't possibly marry me with an illegitimate child. Where would you let our Daphne family's face go?" "You mean?" Julian understood immediately. "I didn't say anything. After you solve the matter and make our Daphne family look good, we can talk about restoring the marriage contract. For a man, it's understandable to be a bit muddled before getting married," Daphne induced in a considerate manner. After hearing this, Julian's eyes lit up. "Daphne, I was wrong before. Don't worry, I will definitely give you a satisfactory result." After saying that, he limped away at a trot. Little did he know that Daphne behind him looked at his departing back and showed a meaningful smile. At this moment, there was chaos in Isabella's rented house. Isabella's mother was lying on the floor of the living room, rolling around with her hair in disarray. It turned out that she had just discovered that her bank card with 2 million yuan had been stolen. Thinking of the time when her daughter secretly went home some time ago, needless to say, Isabella must have stolen the money. This was unacceptable. Isabella's mother was throwing a tantrum, trying to make them hand over the money. Isabella looked at her mother throwing a tantrum and said helplessly, "This money was originally given to me by the Julian family. Is there anything wrong with me taking back my own money?" Isabella's mother spat and said, "Given to you? You were born by me. Now, you haven't received the bride price, and you've even gotten pregnant with a bastard. I have no face left. I'm telling you, these 2 million yuan are compensation for me. If you don't take it out, I won't leave. You figure it out." Isabella couldn't help but curse back at her unreasonable mother. "You shameless old woman. This is clearly my money. Whether you leave or not is up to you. I just happen to be short of someone to cook." Just as Julian pushed the door open and came in, he saw the scene of the mother and daughter turning against each other. Isabella, who was like a fairy untouched by the world in his heart, now had a disheveled appearance, with her hands on her hips and was cursing at someone. Remembering Daphne's words, he thought that indeed he and Isabella were not from the same world. How could such a woman be worthy of him? He secretly made a decision. When Isabella saw Julian coming back, she quickly put down her hands on her hips and walked over quickly. "Julian, you're back." Then she turned to look at her mother with a different expression. "Mom, you go home first. I'll talk to you about it tomorrow." Isabella's mother, "Bah, talk about what? Let's talk about it in front of Julian today. Doesn't he have a share in spending this money?" Isabella didn't want to ruin her image and pushed her mother to leave. "You go back first. I'll give you more in a few days." After finally coaxing Isabella's mother away, Julian walked over and held her hand. "Isabella, we may need to plan carefully. I want to go back to the Julian family. Only if Daphne forgives me will my family allow me to go back. I met Daphne today, and she said that she can restore the marriage contract with me, as long as we give up this child. Isabella was stunned. She touched her belly and took a step back. What did you say? Julian quickly said, listen to me. We can pretend to break up first. After I marry Daphne, when I take control of the businesses of the Julian family and the Daphne family, everything will be ours in the future. If we lose this child, we can still have many more children later. This is just a temporary solution, Isabella. Think about it carefully. Isabella kept shaking her head. No, don't even think about touching my child. Seeing the resistance in Isabella's eyes, Julian continued, if we keep this child, I can't go back to the Julian family. Will we keep living in poverty like this? What will we rely on to survive? I don't want to live like this anymore. Julian, you said you would give us a good life and take good care of me and the baby. I won't have an abortion. Please don't force me, okay? Seeing that Isabella was so stubborn, a fierce look flashed in Julian's eyes, but he still comforted her softly, okay, don't worry. I will. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. However, in the middle of the night, Isabella was thirsty. Julian made her a cup of honey water. Before the morning came, Isabella felt an unbearable abdominal pain and was sent to the hospital. The baby couldn't be saved. Facing Julian's comfort, it's okay. We're still young. We'll have more children. Isabella pushed him away frantically, saying, it's you. You deliberately tampered with the water, right? You want to marry that woman Daphne, and you want to go back to the Julian family. You killed our baby. I loved you so much, and I got pregnant with your child. I was scolded for being a mistress, but you actually killed our baby. Julian quickly hugged her into his arms. Don't worry. I will never leave you, and I won't marry Daphne either. I only love you. But a trace of an imperceptible smile appeared on his lips. After learning that Isabella had a miscarriage and was in the hospital, I specially went to the hospital to see her. As soon as I entered the ward, I saw that she was pale-faced, looking like she had aged more than 10 years. She was lying on the hospital bed silently, with no trace of the previous glamorous young girl left. When she saw me coming, she still didn't show any mercy. Are you here to laugh at me? Don't worry. Julian and I will still have children in the future. I laughed heartily, pulled a chair and sat down. I don't have the time to laugh at you. I just happened to bring you some good news on the way. Later, I'm going to attend Julian and Daphne's engagement ceremony. Isabella struggled to sit up from the bed and stared at me fixedly. What did you say? I stood up and threw the withered rose on her table into the trash can. Isabella, you love him so much that you risked your life to save him. Your so-called true love is not as important as money. Look, he can't stand the hard life, so he doesn't want you anymore. He chose to be with Daphne. You didn't know, did you? At 3 o'clock this afternoon, in the Intercontinental Hotel, it will be their engagement ceremony. I walked to the door and turned back with a light sentence. Isabella, you lost so miserably. You have nothing left. Ah! A scream and the sound of breaking things came from the ward behind me. I left with brisk steps. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, in the Intercontinental Hotel, the engagement banquet for the marriage alliance between the Julian group and the Daphne group was very grand. Although Julian had made a scene some time ago, in the eyes of these wealthy families, it was just a trivial matter that would soon be forgotten. Everyone has had some past foolish deeds, and they just turned a blind eye to it. When the auspicious time arrived, the master of ceremonies joyfully announced on the stage that the newlyweds should exchange rings and propose a toast to the guests. Wait a minute. A voice came from the audience. It was Isabella. She had disguised herself as a waiter and sneaked into the scene. At this moment, she was holding a glass of wine in her hand and slowly walked onto the stage. Julian took a step forward. Isabella, go back first. Listen to my explanation later. Isabella pushed him away and faced the guests. I'm not here to make trouble today. I'm here to wish you two well. Julian, this glass of wine is for you. From now on, we're even. Julian saw that she seemed normal and let out a sigh of relief. He took the wine and drank it up in one gulp, whispering, Isabella, thank you. I'll make it up to you in the future. Isabella burst into crazy laughter. Make it up? Ha ha ha. What can you use to make up for the life of my child? Julian, the thing I regret the most is saving you in the first place. I should have let you die in that car. Julian suddenly clutched his stomach and knelt down on the ground. What did you put in the wine? The scene was in chaos. Julian's parents rushed up immediately. Call the police and an ambulance. Isabella, there's no need to call the police. I've already called the police myself. And there's no need for an ambulance either. It's too late. Ha ha ha. The originally joyous scene turned into a funeral. There was poison in that glass of wine. When Julian was sent to the hospital, he had already stopped breathing. Isabella cooperated with the police and left. She confessed to poisoning Julian and also revealed that Julian had poisoned her to cause a miscarriage. The police sighed and shook their heads while taking her statement. Later, Isabella committed suicide in prison. The last letter was actually for me, Lucas. I'm sorry. If I could live my life again, I hope I could meet you earlier. I burned the letter. No matter how many times life is reincarnated, I never want to meet you again.